Hey everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Today's guest I've been watching in the classic physique scene of the IFBB Pro League for a couple of years now. He is another guy moving to 212, yes, from Florida. Currently 2 weeks out from Tampa Pro. Please welcome Jason Lowe. How are you, Jason?
I'm good. How's it going?
Good. You know, for the longest time, I didn't know your name. I just know you as your IG name, IFBB_Broku,
Yeah,
Broku, which is that's a character from Dragon Ball Z or something?
sort of. So
Goku is, right?
Goku is from Dragon Ball Z. Broku is kind of my own thing. In Dragon Ball Z, some of the characters will fuse together and create a new character
Oh,
in
wow.
a stronger version. And so the two strongest like characters in the show, Goku and Broly. So if you fuse them together, I put Broku in there to be the strongest of the strongest.
I've heard Brolic used as a word by you young people for someone that's really jacked. You're Broly or Brolic, so now it all makes sense. Thank you. It's hard to keep up. So I definitely want to talk about the move to 212 and all that, but I want to get a little background because I've never really had a chance to interview you in depth and learn about that. I just know this is a guy that's got this great physique, but let's find out a little bit more about you. So you grew up in the great state of Florida, the Sunshine State,
Yep.
currently having issues with COVID-19, like
Oh
most of the
yeah.
country, but whew. But so what was your childhood like? It was you and you had two brothers?
Yep. So we grew up actually in the Panhandle, just south of Tallahassee,
Okay.
and yeah, two brothers, an older brother, a younger brother. I was right in the middle, and it was normal brotherhood. We fought and everything like that, but we were also best friends.
Hmm.
So we grew up together, competing against each other. My dad would kind of pit us against each other. Who can do more push-ups? Who can do more sit-ups in a minute? Always stuff like that. We had a rope swing in the backyard. They would see who could climb it the fastest, and just all kinds of stuff. But we had good times and everything like that. Um, but yeah, it was always competitive between all three of us,
So
but all very different. My little brother, he was more like tennis, golf, stuff like that. My older brother, football, basketball, and stuff like that. And then I kind of messed around with all of it, but found my niche really with weightlifting in high school. I joined the weightlifting team.
yeah, that's the weird thing. I remember way back in the 80s, I visited a friend of mine from Massachusetts had moved down to Orlando, and I don't know how this doesn't even make legal sense, but I went to his high school for a day because he still had one more day of school before he started April vacation, and they had a weightlifting team. I'm like, this high school has a weightlifting team? That's crazy. And
Yeah,
Ronnie Coleman was on the powerlifting team in his high school in Louisiana. So yeah, but you
yeah.
joined the you did you do that all 4 years of high school?
I started my sophomore year actually. So I didn't do it my freshman year. I worked out. I actually got my first gym membership when I was in seventh grade.
Oh wow.
Uh, my older brother started going to the gym, so I just joined in with him. And so I started going to the gym seventh grade. I don't know how old you are then, maybe what, 12, 13,
13,
something like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So I started going with him and everything. And then my 10th grade year, I joined the weightlifting team and I did pretty good. I wasn't like anything special my 10th grade year. I was just kind of warming up to it. I won a few local meets, but then 11th grade I made it to state, and then my senior year, when I 11th grade I made it to state, but I didn't make weight when I got to state, so I didn't get to
Uh,
compete.
oh damn.
Um, I dropped to a different weight class, and it was just not the smartest thing. I was trying to suck down, but my senior year, I made it to state, and I got second place in the state of Florida,
Wow.
154-pound weight class. So I wasn't that big, and but I was my best bench in high school was 340 at
Wow.
155 pounds.
Oh, that's come on, dude. That's very impressive. Don't you're
So
very humble. So,
it
yeah.
was, yeah.
No, I want to know weight. I because I never really looked into it. Weightlifting team. What lifts did you do? It just seemed you would either
The
be Olympic lifting or powerlifting, or was just whatever they just
the only two lifts that they made us do was bench press and clean and jerk.
really, huh?
Yeah.
That is odd,
So
huh?
it kind of once I got into bodybuilding, it kind of held me back a little bit because my upper body was so much more developed. It took me a long. They never. Our coach, I've seen some schools, especially now that I live in Daytona. The schools around here, they have some really good weightlifting coaches, and our coaches, they tried, but it was just the assistant football coach was coaching the weightlifting team.
Yeah.
So they, we might have done squats once a month
Hmm.
in
Is
there.
it is it still that way? It's just those two lifts, do you know?
As far as I know,
That is
yeah,
weird. That is
I
really
know
strange.
it was. So I haven't done clean and jerks since high school,
Wow.
but it was that was never my best lift. Anyways, I think I got 275 on that.
I mean,
But
that's who the hell does clean and jerks these days, you know?
yeah,
I
yeah,
guarantee you at least three-quarters of people watching this are like, what the F is a
yeah.
clean and jerk? They have no idea.
Sure, you can find it on a CrossFit video.
That's true. That's CrossFit has brought back Olympic lifts in a very big way. Done incorrectly, of course, but still,
Right.
let's be real. So after high school, yeah, tragedy. Unfortunately, was it your older brother passed away in a car accident?
Yeah. So right after high school, I moved out of my parents' house. My brother bought a house,
Oh
so I
wow.
moved in with him.
Hmm.
And a few months into that, it was just the fall after I had graduated high school. He got in a car accident and passed away.
Hmm.
And yeah, I kind of went off the deep end after that. Just, you know, 2020 hindsight, I should have taken that and started doing positive things. And, instead I ended up, putting my parents through even more pain and going off and I got into stupid partying and, being an idiot for a while. And finally, as cliche as it is, bodybuilding really did probably save my life.
Yeah.
When I got back in the gym and got serious, and one of the trainers in the gym asked if I ever thought about bodybuilding, that gave me something to focus on and start being productive instead of destructive.
Yeah, you know what? People should give bodybuilding more credit because it has saved a lot of people like that. I don't want to make this all about me, but I lost my dad end of junior year in high school, and I got into drinking pretty heavily. You got a DUI. I was just lucky. I drove drunk
Yeah,
many times. I just got lucky and didn't get caught. Unfortunately, you got
yeah,
caught and lost your license. But
oh yeah.
that's
It was
bodybuilding was what did it for me and a lot of people like you. So, was it about now I'm going to be healthy? I'm going to do something positive. Did you have any plans, or was it just I can't do this anymore?
I honestly had no plan in like making it somewhere and competing.
Yeah,
It was something to really just focus all my attention on and keep me away from going out. And once I got really into it and actually learning about the nutrition and stuff like that, and if I went out one night with my friends, it ruined me for like two,
yeah,
3 days in the
right.
gym, and I would just go backwards. And so I started realizing that, there's no positive coming out of that, so, it really just complete shift mentally.
Right. So when did you know? Was it who noticed that you had something special that you didn't look? You weren't developing the same way as 90% of the gym rats on the gym floor. Was it you that noticed it? Was it other people that came up to you and said, "Wow, kid, you got some potential for bodybuilding"?
I knew I had potential for strength, uh, and stuff, but I didn't know too much about bodybuilding. I had never seen a show when I did my first show.
Yeah.
Um, there was a trainer in the gym I went to back in my hometown, Crawfordville, Florida. Um, his name was Ezekiel Davis, and
Hmm.
he'd been a natural pro for years, and he still looks insane. Like he's probably, I don't know, 5'4", 5'5", but
Yeah.
just you know ridiculously jacked.
Yeah.
And um, he was a all natural pro, and he just came up to me and we talked, and he was a nice guy. And he's like, "You ever thought about doing a bodybuilding show?" I was like, "No, man. I like lifting weights, but I was like, I don't know about putting a little bikini on and getting on stage.
That's what
And
everybody says.
yeah, I mean, I was always kind of more of the like more humble than putting on. So like I quit my swim team whenever they started made me get out there in a speedo, and I was just like, I don't know about all this.
Oh,
And I
man.
was, back in that day, I was like the fastest person on my swim team too. When I quit, my cousin won everything.
Ah,
But
good for him. Hmm.
so he didn't really coach me. He gave me a little cookie cutter diet and, just to kind of get me rolling.
Yeah.
And I don't think I did any cardio. I got to my first show and all I did entered was the novice. And it was one of the drug tested organizations, and I won the novice, but I looked at the pictures. I was like, all right, this is the best I've ever looked, but it's not good enough to do a bodybuilding show. So
Hmm.
I took like 2, 3 years off just to put on size, got kind of fat. My goal was to get over 200 pounds. I think at my first show I was 165 pounds on stage.
Yeah.
So my goal was just to get up to 200. I think I ended up getting to 210, but it was a bloated, fluffy
Well,
210.
you were natural, so
And
yeah.
then yeah, and then whenever I dieted down, I was still only like 170 pounds on stage.
Right, right, right.
But so it was just a long road from there. I did a few of those natural shows, and I actually turned pro like in the NGA, and
Hmm.
did 2 pro shows. I won the second one,
Oh, wow.
and then I just realized those organizations just don't really go anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and I wanted more of a challenge. So 2015, I did my first NPC show, the Diamond Classic. I believe it's in Boca,
Yep.
Florida. Um, and I won the overall as a light heavyweight. I think I was 182 pounds, 183 pounds.
Well, hold
So it was
on.
a small light heavy.
How tall are you, Jason? Let's
I'm
put this.
5'8".
Okay, so that's not a small person in contest shape. Just
So, um, and then I went straight. Of course, you know, I just been doing all these natural shows. I'm in my head. I'm like, oh, I won this. I'm gonna go pro in this too.
right.
Go straight to the NPC universe and kind of got my butt handed to me there, and that was eye opening. So I was like, I gotta bulk. I gotta get huge. I gotta start pounding food and killing the workouts. And then a couple months into that, they announced the classic physique division starting the next year.
Right.
So
So you didn't, but you didn't. Did you compete in? I see you turned pro at the 2017 Junior USA. Did you do any other classic shows prior to turning pro?
I did the very first classic physique show they held in Florida. It
Oh,
was, I think, the Southeastern USA's in Orlando,
yeah.
and I won the overall in classic. And then I went to Junior USA. Junior USA is 2016. I got like 13th.
No.
I could have been a lot leaner.
Right.
I mentally, I thought that division, they still hadn't really came up with good guidelines. I
Yeah.
thought they didn't want us as lean in the classic division that first year.
Supposedly they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could have been a lot leaner. And also they measured me different when I got there. The first show I did, they measured me 5'8.5", so I got to be like I think 185.
Yeah.
This was before they changed the weight limits.
187, I
Um,
think it was.
well, they measured me 5'8" on the dot when I got to junior USA's, and I had to be 177.
Mm,
So it was like they're like, go hit the sauna. So like 3 hours in the sauna, I came back and barely made weight, and then it was just not the best look on stage after that. But then it was a long year. I did junior nationals after junior USA's, and I came in harder. I got sixth. Then went to North Americans and got third. And I still curious about why I didn't get my pro card there actually, because the 2 guys that beat me
yeah.
had already earned their pro cards in Masters divisions at North Americans.
They're supposed to knock it down. Yeah.
So
Yeah, you should have got your pro card out of that, but
I
okay.
didn't get my pro card there, but I'm not gonna argue with them. So I went to nationals, and then George Peterson shows up. But
That's right. That's
so
right.
I ended up in fourth at nationals, and then the next year I went straight to junior USA's and got my pro card.
So when Classic first came out, were you on board with it as soon as you heard about it, or did you have to really think about it?
I was, because I knew I needed to put on a lot more size for bodybuilding,
Yeah.
and I was still 100% natural at the time. So uh, I came, I was like, okay, this is going to be a way I can stay healthier. I'm already pretty much at that weight limit for classic where I needed to be.
Right.
So I figured it was a good way to have more longevity in the sport, and I didn't have to get as big. In my head at the time, I was just like, I can stay more athletic, do more activities and stuff like that. And then once I turned pro, though, and I was coaching myself too. I never had a coach. So when I turned pro, I did my first 2 pro shows right after turning pro. I jumped in the Chicago Pro and then the Tampa Pro. And after all of that, I'd been dieting for so long, like just show after show after show, staying super lean. I went and got my blood work done for the first time ever, and
Oh no.
It was not good. So like my testosterone, I was 30 years old at the time. My testosterone was like 227.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, just staying so lean the whole time, and I was natural. I wasn't like, you know, so I was, um, so the doctor prescribed me some like 200 tests, you know, per week, and uh, just got me back in the healthy range and everything like that. But at the Tampa Pro is where I met Chris Aceto,
Okay.
when I did that show. So I came out, he was sitting on the steps in the lobby, and I was like, I got to introduce myself. So I walked up and introduced myself, and we communicated a little bit, but I didn't actually start working with him until November. Uh, I got married that November,
Oh.
and the next week I started prep for the Arnold Classic.
I hope you had like a little honeymoon or something. Jeez.
Well, so we originally were supposed to get married a month earlier than that, and the hurricanes. We were getting married in the Bahamas, and the hurricanes wiped out our entire hotel venue.
Oh God.
So we
Okay.
had to replan the wedding in a month. We got married in St. Augustine instead, and we just rented a cabin on the beach and stayed there for like a week. So
Perfect.
uh, it was kind of like a small honeymoon inside the wedding type thing. And so right after that, it was ready to prep.
Okay. Yeah. 'Cause 2018. Wow, you were busy in 2018. Wow. So I think this is chronological. Upper Midwest Pro, fourth place. Omaha Pro, you told me sixth place. San Antonio Classic, you won that. Tampa, very tough show. You got third in that. Was that the year Peterson won? I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was Peterson won 17.
Oh, he was
Um,
Henri Pierre. Oh no,
Andre Pierre, and then Keon got
Keon.
second.
Yeah, not a
Yeah.
couple. Not no, not any slouches that you placed
Right.
third to right there. In 2018, you also did the Arnold and took 11th. So that was
Hmm.
five shows in
Yeah.
2018. And then last year, three shows last year, correct?
Hmm.
So you started off at the Arnold, seventh place. And here's where it gets interesting. Indy Pro, not a classic physique pro, but a 212 pro, and you got 10th place. I checked out the footage. You know, condition could have been a little better, but I could see the potential for this guy could definitely move up to 212, a little more size and probably do well, and we'll get into that in a second.
Yeah.
And then the Olympia finished off the year in the Olympia, didn't place the Olympia. So after last year's Olympia, is that when you started thinking about the move, or what was the process?
Making weight for the Arnold was when I started thinking about the move.
Mm,
It was horrible. Like just making that weight, I was, you know, had to suck down Epsom salt baths, pulling water, fasting for 24 hours. I was laying curled up in the Aceto's hotel room while all his other clients were coming in and checking in, and he's like, "Oh, you're still flat. Eat a donut." And I'm over there just curled up on the couch, you know. um, but it was brutal. I mean, I think the Arnold was probably one of my best looks,
mm,
but it was so brutal making weight, and that's why I mentioned to him right there. I was like, "Indies in 4 weeks. What do you think? Jump
mm.
in and fill out and see what I look like on a 212 stage." And so it was only really a 3 week prep after the Arnold for the 212 show. I knew I could have been a little harder. I lost a little separation in some of the muscle trying to just fill out the frame.
Yeah.
But I weighed in at 192 at the Arnold, and I weighed in at 208 for Indy
Wow.
just 4 weeks later.
16 pounds. Wow.
So,
Damn.
and I still had striated glutes and
Yeah.
stuff. It just there was some blurred lines in the separation and stuff like that. Um, but I knew I talked to the judges afterwards, and they told me we could really see you have a good look for the 212. You need to fill out like in the legs a little bit and just come in harder. So,
I'm
and
gonna
then
give you
at
more.
the
I got to give you more credit because I'd say to be realistic, I'd say your condition was somewhere around 15% less at the as a 212, but 16 pounds difference in that span of time to maintain that much condition. I give you and Aceto a lot of credit because
appreciate
that's
it.
wow.
Yeah, it was. Honestly, I didn't feel like I was in prep leading into the 212 show. I was eating cookies pre-workout every day. I was eating steak and potatoes for dinner every night
Mm-hmm.
after starving my butt off for the Arnold and doing like 2 hours of cardio a day for the Arnold. And I was doing 20 minutes of fasted cardio and eating cookies pre-workout and steak and potatoes for dinner.
Wow.
I didn't even feel like I was, doing anything
Yeah.
for
So,
the Indy. But then the Olympia, unfortunately, I think was probably my worst look
mm,
on stage. Um, Not only the look, the tan wasn't the greatest. I was definitely holding some water on stage, and I I think 4 days before the Olympia was the best look I've ever had. Ever.
ah, mm,
And then, but I was still 207, 208.
yeah.
I had to drop down to 192, and it just I couldn't recover from it.
Right.
So
Well,
it,
so that was it. The writing was on the wall right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and because I did build muscle leading into the Olympia too. After that 212 show, I had a good rebound from that, and then coming in and dropping back down. I'm like, I'm just being a yo-yo here. I'm like building muscle, having to lose the muscle, build the muscle, lose the muscle. So I was like, you know what? I'm never gonna bring my best look in classic. As I love the division, but I know I'm never gonna bring my best look.
So, you didn't make any big public announcement. We heard from George Peterson maybe a week or two after the Olympia. I think Keon was not long after that. Had you already made up your mind prior to that, or did they have some influence on your decision?
I had made up my mind after the Arnold Classic. I was like,
Mm,
I'm already qualified through the Olympia. In this sport, you never know if you're gonna get an injury or anything like that. I'm like, if I'm qualified, I'm doing the Olympia. So I knew I was gonna go ahead and do the Olympia, but I had already made it up in my mind that I was switching. And honestly, the long term goal, I'd love to switch to the Open.
mm,
Um, this year, I'm not big enough yet. I know that, so I'm not gonna be the smallest guy in the Open stage.
right on.
Um, but I think in the next couple years, if I could end up stepping on stage at 230, 235, that would, I think I could bring my best look around there.
Yeah, I mean, the shape and the structure's there. If you just keep filling it out, and you have pretty round muscle bellies, I could see that. I could see you doing really well. So, the quarantine screwed up everybody's plans this year. Was Tampa the show you planned to start the season off with, or not?
Yeah, it was the plan anyways, because
Oh,
that
okay.
was, I mean, I'm in Daytona. It's only a 2 hour drive,
Mm,
so it was already the plan anyways, but it did kind of, make everything crazy. I don't know if the Tampa would have been such an insane lineup if there had been shows all year long.
right.
But I mean, I know like George and
Well,
everyone was already talking about doing New York before this, and then New York's after this now. And
yeah.
but you gotta stand next to the best guys at some point, anyways. So
Well, we don't know. Until we get to Tampa and the athletes meeting, I don't know whether it's going to be 300 people or 100 people, or
you're right.
is it going to be all Americans, or the Canadians going to get in? There's still a lot of question marks, but
I know because I know there's a few Canadians talking about. I know Ian's talking about it, and then you got Samson talking about coming over from the UK or whatever. I don't know how he's going to be able to get over here. I mean, I hope he does, but
smuggle them in on a boat. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of unknowns. So it's always a competitive show, regardless. I
oh
just
yeah,
don't know about these international guys. I feel
yeah,
bad because you're going through prep. You can hopefully step on stage. If I was in prep and I don't even know if I can get into the country, the
which
stress
and
would be killing me.
that was my thought process in doing the New York after Tampa. Is like I don't know if I want to. I don't know what's going to happen with there. If you're coming from Florida, they want you to self quarantine for 2 weeks and all this. And so if I do more shows after Tampa, it'll probably be Boston and Chicago.
Oh, right on. Do Boston. Do
Yeah.
Boston. Mhm.
I've
But
never been to Boston.
oh,
So
wonderful city.
yeah.
It's like I call it New York light.
Yeah.
If you've been to New York, it's like New York, but not so much.
Not so
It's
crazy.
not as crowded, not as crazy and chaotic and polluted, and it's a kinder, gentler version of New York City. I like to think of it
Sounds
as.
nice.
But so, how did quarantine affect you? Were you able to keep your training up this whole time?
I was fortunate enough to, there's a gym that I train all my clients at here. And I have a key to the gym. So I was fortunate enough that the owner said, just keep the doors locked, don't turn the lights on. I was training in the dark, no AC,
Oh
but
no.
you know, hey, the dungeon gym, I had the equipment. I was fortunate enough to be able to get in, get my training done. Um, The owner of the gym, actually, he was a national level NPC competitor back in like the early 2000s. Gary McDowell, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he
No.
competed back with Palumbo and stuff like that in those days. But yeah, he was nice enough to let me keep sneaking in there and get my work done. So I didn't really miss any days. Uh, Kept grinding. So
So this is your first prep where you were able to keep your weight up and not have to worry. You know, I don't know. I saw a video like a month ago where you're still like over 230. But I assume we're 2 weeks away from weigh-ins right now. I assume you're closer to where you
I
need to
hit
be now.
I hit 216 this morning.
Okay, so you'll be okay. I mean, the
So
Ceto could
yeah,
get you
I'm
down
not
to
worried
two.
about making weight. Just worried about bringing the best conditioning. I'm not for once. I'm not having a struggle about making the weight. I just want to make sure that my conditioning is on point.
So mental, has that made the prep, not, I want to say prep's never easy, but at least you don't have that in the back of your mind. Like at the last minute, I'm going to have to try to get down to, what is it? What did you have to get down to?
I had to be
192?
yeah 192.
Which is
It was the
crazy.
same as George, and I know he struggled just as bad as I did.
Right,
We were
right.
both. We'd see each other at the gym, whatever city we were in, competing, and hey, what's your weight? And he was like, oh, still got about 8, 9 pounds to lose.
Uh,
A day or two before the weigh-ins.
yeah.
So it was definitely
Well,
less stressful not having to think about that this time.
yeah. Because I imagine all that time, especially as you were growing the last few shows, because you're still a fairly young guy. Would you say 33? Yeah. You're still in the process where you're putting on muscle. It's not going to be you're not going to be done with that for a few more years. So to have that stress in your mind of I'm putting on this muscle and then I'm gonna have to lose it. All this
Yeah,
muscle, now you don't have that pressure in the back of your mind that I'm working for all this and it's a lot of it's gonna be for nothing because I'm gonna have to drop this muscle at the end. So
exactly. And
yeah,
I'm really excited too because having to do that for the past few years, and now I'm being able to hold on to that muscle and knowing how much progress I made post show, leading, after having to suffer down and even lose muscle. And now I'm not going backwards, but I can still make that progress after this competitive season.
mm,
I'm really excited to see the progress I can make in the next couple of years, not having to suck down and lose muscle every time I compete.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm excited. Aceto had me a little nervous throughout this prep, to be honest. He was keeping me so full in the beginning.
yeah,
Um, I was like, all right, we got to get shredded here. It's Aceto. I know he's going to get me shredded.
right.
He's amazing at it. But mentally, I was like, all right, I'm used to like suffering. We're like 8 weeks out and I haven't started suffering at all yet. And then 7 weeks out, I'm like, are we going to start suffering? And then like 5 weeks out, he just dropped the hammer and he's like, all right, time to die.
Yeah, no carbs until the
Yeah.
show, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, another thing that was probably an issue for you was a lot of the classic guys I've talked to, they would stress out about when were the weigh-ins versus when I'm going to be on stage, and they were, the
Yes.
guys like you, a lot of these guys were in the same position where they hoped to God they had enough time to fill out because to go from being in contest condition at like I don't know 205, but you still got to get down to 192 regardless because that's your
Mhm.
weight cutoff. And then you hope you have like New York Pro is notorious. Guys used to complain because
Yeah.
man they weigh us in at like 9 in the morning and we have to be on stage at like one noon or 1 p.m.
That's
and
insane. They have a couple
it's
hours. Yeah.
yeah,
I remember that when when Regan won it and stuff like that, and they were saying they had to weigh in and basically had time for maybe one meal and
yeah,
then get on stage. That's crazy for
yeah.
sure.
But it's a true representation of who really is supposed to be at that weight and who's
True.
not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
at the Olympia we had 2 days,
Mm.
but I think that kind of screwed me up. I think um, I think it wasn't the food as much. It was just the water and I'm not really sure what happened, to be honest with you. I ended up holding water. I ended up, just looking softer and, you know, I was, like I said, my best look a few days before the show and then
Yeah.
just didn't translate to the stage.
Yeah. I mean, it's always that point where you're perfect and then like one more meal you might get a little better or maybe you won't and
Yeah.
unfortunately it's a gamble all the time.
Hmm.
um the two divisions, are you gonna miss classic? Was there anything about it that you will miss?
No, I don't think so, to be honest. I mean, I don't see why I can't bring that same look and posing and everything to the bodybuilding, you know? So I love hitting the side tricep. I love hitting the lat spreads. So
Yeah,
I always kind of missed that in the classic division.
yeah.
So, you know, the most muscular, the lat spreads, the side tricep. I don't know why they don't at least have the side tricep. And I mean, that's very classic. You can make it very classic with the different variations. But yeah, so I'm actually excited to be able to hit all the poses too. And I honestly think I would have done better in classic had there been more poses to judge on, because
Yeah,
those some of those poses can be my strengths, and then some of the people that were beating me, that could have been their weakness, you
right.
know.
Like, what was did you always have a go-to for your favorite classic pose? Was it always the same one or no?
Usually there were two. I would do, you know, hand on hip, single bicep, and
Yeah.
then I would usually go from that to uh, there was a pose. I don't know if I just kind of made it up, or there's I'm sure multiple people have done it. It's hard to make up a pose these days that hasn't been done, but it was more like hand coming across, this hand on the hip, and
This one. Yeah.
similar to that. Similar, yeah.
Yeah, that's been around for about 50 years in one form or another, but yeah.
Yeah. So it was like my variation of that.
Right
Yeah.
on. Yeah. No, I've talked to so many classic guys who they said the same thing. Man, I wish I could hit a front lat spread. That's like my best. Like
Yeah.
Bumstead, he's got an awesome
Oh, he's
front
got
lat spread.
amazing. Yeah.
But that's not a
Yeah.
classic pose. That's his optional pose. I think
Yes.
he hits it pretty much all the time as his optional pose.
Yeah,
Either that or the single
he hits
bicep.
it great. You know, yeah. So it's an amazing pose on him. Um, like that could have brought him up, you know, some points in previous Olympias, possibly if they had that in the. I don't know what Breon's looks like or whatever, but you know, he was bodybuilding before classic, so I'm sure he can hit a good one too.
Have you ever seen a picture of Breon in a front lat spread? Because now that I think
I
about it, I
don't
don't think
think so. I'm sure if you look back at his 212 shows, you could find it,
he
but
had to then. He was there, but
yeah, but yeah, I can't think of any picture I've seen of him doing it.
huh, interesting. Yeah, and another thing is the trunks. These are more exposure, obviously. So if
Mhm.
you really fight to get into that crazy condition with the glutes and the hams all crispy and striated, people are going to see all that now.
Yeah, exactly. And just the fact of them coming up higher, showing
Mm.
more of the taper, because you know my legs, pretty stocky legs, and they actually look better showing that top part of the quad. So I get a little more flare in there. I don't have the best sweep in my quads,
Yeah,
but showing that top part of it shows a little better sweep
right.
in it.
So there's those original classic trunks must have really bothered
Those
you.
were ridiculous.
It's look like you're going off to a
They cover
bicycle race.
everything. Yeah,
I
they're
didn't
just
know.
wearing boxer briefs on stage.
Yeah. I said if they keep these trunks forever, oh, dude, this division is going to blow.
Yeah.
It's not going to succeed. So that leads me to my next question. The 212 division, some of us were starting to really worry about the future of the 212. Like maybe it'll even go away. This was like a year or two ago because first it got taken out of the Arnold.
Hmm.
Flex Lewis retires. He was the superstar. That's like the
Yeah.
poster boy for 212. Jose retires.
Yep.
We got a lot of people like Dave Henry's still there, but he's late 40s. Eduardo Correa, incredible. Like I don't think he's got a lot longer to compete. Kamal is the current champ. He's announced this is his last year no matter what. He's 48, but
Oh, I
you
didn't
got
know they
some.
announced that.
Yeah. He's because
Okay.
he's been competing for 25 years or something like
Oh,
that.
I know. Yeah, his
So,
story's crazy. How long it took him to actually finally get that.
oh, dude, I mean, yeah.
Let him have the pro card and get over here.
But guys like you coming up, all these new classics crossovers, you're really helping the division out. I forgot. I can't leave out Derek Lunsford. Obviously, that's the
Oh yeah.
heir apparent to the Olympia title. But we also have new guys like yourself moving up, George Peterson, Keon, because classic was going to keep flourishing and growing anyway. Because if you go to amateur shows, obviously there haven't been any shows going on now, but the ones I've been going to the past couple of years, bodybuilding numbers are coming down, and the classic numbers are
Oh yeah.
every show.
Oh yeah.
everybody thought they were. A lot of people think they're classic and they're not, but that's a whole other argument.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
the classic
But you're
division
right. The
is going to be
numbers
okay.
are crazy in the classic division. I mean, I remember that year I got third place at the Tampa Pro. Even there were, I think, 48 competitors
Yeah. I
in
don't
that
think
show.
I've only been to Tampa 17, 18, 3 times, and I don't think there have been less than 30 guys in that division once.
Yeah, yeah. So it's insane. I remember Junior USA's when I turned pro. I think there was at least 40 plus in my height class alone.
Wow. Yeah, that's
So
crazy. Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, do you agree that the 212 division it's on? I don't want to say it because it was never like in serious jeopardy. I don't think it was going to be discontinued or anything, but I have new hope for it. Put it that way.
I
With
I think it's getting some new energy for sure.
yeah,
Yeah, I think with George, Keon, me, and I'm sure there's going to be more to follow.
I hope
For
so.
this for the same reason of as much as we all love the classic division, you can only go so far as your development. If you are maxing out that weight limit and you still think you can look better, it's time to move up. I think I've heard other people say it that it could be a great stepping stone along the way. I'm not saying it's not an amazing division on its own,
Yeah,
but same with look at Stanimal. Stanimal went from men's physique to classic to open.
yeah,
So, I mean, he used it as a stepping stone to continue growing and bettering his physique the whole way.
yeah.
So, I think there's going to be a lot of people that do that and use that to keep growing.
Yeah, I know. I used to complain so much. Well, because I'm old and I came up when it was all there was only men's and women's bodybuilding when I
Yeah.
started. When I was competing and when I started working in the industry, that's all there was. And I used to really, once these divisions started coming out, I was like, didn't like it. But now I see it. It gives so much more opportunity for people, maybe that they don't feel when they're starting out like yourself. I'm not big enough for open bodybuilding. So those people in the past, they never competed. They were just like, well, that's not for me. I'm never going to be able to do that. But now they could start out, like you said, in one division, men's physique or classic, move up, move up, move
Yeah.
up. It gives you room to grow, literally, which is,
Exactly. Yeah. While
if there
still
were,
staying in the sport and being competitive,
right,
So, as opposed to when there was only bodybuilding, if you're not ready, you're taking a couple years to grow before you ever step on stage. And, from if you're serious, you're going to do it. There's a lot of people mentally that you take that much time away from actually the competitive part of it, it's hard to stay focused.
absolutely,
So,
yeah. And plus, a lot of people, we're all perfectionists in the sport. So a lot of people just thought, I would see guys who were huge and they say, I'm not big enough yet. I'm not big enough yet. But that's,
yeah, I see that a lot too.
yeah. Well, damn. Well, Jason, thank you for giving me your whole background and everything. I finally know all about you. I forgot to mention that you have something in common with a lot of the youngsters out there: superheroes, anime, and video games.
Yeah.
So let's do a lightning round. Favorite superhero?
I mean, does Goku from Dragon Ball Z count as a superhero?
Now let's go with Marvel or DC.
Marvel or DC?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so hard. That's so hard.
All right, you
Uh,
can go to Dragon Ball Z. That's fine.
I see. Yeah, I love all the Marvel and DC characters, but I don't know if I can pick a favorite out of them.
Fair enough. Anime. What was your favorite anime to watch or Japanese animated series?
Dragon Ball Z was my very first, but I would watch them all from Naruto to you know, My Hero Academia. There's kind of a newer one, but it's really good.
Yeah, my son watches that one. Yeah,
Yeah, I love that show. There's a ton of them. Yeah.
of course. And
Any of them where the underdog comes up and becomes the hero. I love that.
and are you still a gamer? Do you still play video games today?
I do. Not as much as I used to, but I still enjoy them.
Do you have in the past couple years? Do you have a one favorite game of all time that you wasted many hours playing?
Um, whew. Well, recently I just finished beating the remake of Final Fantasy VII.
Ah, okay.
Um, and I did also play the new Final Fantasy 15 and
Hmm.
beat that. Borderlands was one of my favorite series. Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. a lot of those, but I really like the old school games. I still like the original like Super Nintendo games and stuff like that. I still play those. You know, you can download them. Like I have the Nintendo Switch, where I can download some of the old Super Nintendo games and play those. So I still do that.
They lost me after Pac-Man and Space Invaders. So I was
Just
good
give
with
me some
one.
good Mario. Give me some more good Mario, and I'm happy. You know.
I know. Okay. Yeah, because I know that's so many. That's such a big thing. The game. I only know it because of my son, but he's
Yeah.
up till 5 in the morning some nights playing that crap with the
No.
headset on, yelling at his friends. Yeah. So
I'm
cool.
up till 5 in the morning, just starving right now, just waiting for my next meal. But
Well, I'm curious to see what you're going to look like because this is your first prep where you didn't really have to hold back and lose muscle intentionally, and you went into a division fully intending on being your best and not having to hold back mentally or anything. So I
thanks.
think
I'm excited too. I know it's going to be an insane competition, but there's a lot of guys looking good. You know,
well,
I
yeah,
don't I don't look at them and like say, oh, that's what I got to beat. But I look at them because I'm a fan. You know, and there's I saw you did the interview with Derek Oslin too.
yeah,
He
yeah,
looks great. He put on some serious muscle the past year.
absolutely,
So I mean, I know Aaron Clark too. He's coming back, and
yeah.
there's going to be some good competition. So I'm excited to stand up there and just I know I'm bringing my best, but I also know I can still get better. So I'm excited to see how I stack up for sure.
Right on. Cool. Well, we will be there. Team MD will be covering Tampa Pro, capture all the
Awesome.
action, guys. Make sure you tune into MD, musculardevelopment.com that weekend and our YouTube channel. I want you guys to follow this man, Jason Lowe, on IG. He is IFBB underscore Broku, 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 and new YouTube channel. It's just your name, Jason
Yeah.
Lowe, Lowe, like the hardware store. So,
Yeah.
no, you don't have a piece of that company?
Unfortunately, no piece of that, and no, they don't even give me a discount.
Dang it. Cool. Well, looking forward to seeing what you got in store for us. You and Chris are going to put together a winning package, and it's going to be cool. I'm just excited to get back to the shows because
Oh, me too.
I
There's a
haven't
couple
been.
amateur shows this next couple weeks here in Florida, so I might even just go just to get in the mindset. Go
Yeah,
watch.
I mean, it's been so. I haven't been anything since the Arnold. It's
Yeah, Dexter Jackson Classics in 2
ah,
weeks, so or in a week now. So
cool. Well, best of luck with the last couple weeks of prep. I know you don't need luck. It's just a matter of suffering, and
yeah,
you're down for it.
I'm
So,
ready to suffer. Bring my
hey,
best. So I appreciate it. Thanks for having
thank
me on.
Thank you. And everybody, thanks for watching Ronline Report. Check this man, Jason Lowe, out 2 weeks from now at the Tampa Pro Tim Gardner Show in Tampa, Florida. And we'll see you next time.
All right.